How about you? Pretty good? Hello, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Ooh, this is fun. Good evening. Okay. All right, welcome to the Thursday night of the Summer Fishtrap Gathering of Writings. This is quite a crowd tonight. It's good to see you all. I'm glad to see that Sprinkly's still. Okay, yes, absolutely. Yeah. I will introduce myself again just because it makes me feel good to know I still know my name. I am Shannon McNerney, the Executive Director of Fishtrap, and I am super happy to see you all here tonight. I want to welcome, as always, all of our Summer Fishtrap writers and faculty and volunteers. I also want to, if you came up from the county tonight just for this, could you raise your hands? Thank you, guys. This is lovely. These guys are getting used to good writers. It's pretty great. I also want to welcome all the folks that are watching on YouTube, whether you're watching now or tomorrow, and you all can go home and watch forever. So enjoy. You can say, hey, I was there. All right. So tonight we're going to hear from two longtime Fishtrap friends, Beth Piatote and Kim Stafford. And then oh yes, give them a hand. Absolutely. And we're also going to hear from someone who's very quickly becoming a good friend, Chip Blake. This is his first Summer Fishtrap, so please welcome him here. We haven't done this since the first night, but I do want to thank this year's partners and funders, the Book Loft, Eastern Oregon University, the Collins Foundation, the James F. and Marion L. Miller Foundation, the Kinsman Foundation, the Marie Lamb from Charitable Foundation, there's so many foundations, the Oregon Arts Commission, the Roundhouse Foundation, and of course the Wallowa Lake Lodge. I know you hear this all of the time, that we can't do this work without them, but let me put this another way. Summer Fishtrap would probably cost $4 kajillion without these help from these foundations, so please thank them if you ever get a chance to see it. So, as you all know, this year's theme is Our American Story. As I mentioned Tuesday night, this is a complete, complex and complicated story that's filled with both dark and light. One chapter occurred 150 years ago today, and that is the Battle of Little Bighorn. I would like to invite a Fishtrap writer and a Lakota elder, Steve Newcomb, onto stage for an acknowledgement.
Sweetgrass, to remind us of the sweetness of what is. I've become an elder through a process that I don't quite understand yet. It is my obligation to remember what's happened in the past, but I have trouble remembering what day it is. In mid-June 1876, the off-reservation bands of the Sioux tribes gathered and camped along the banks of the Little Bighorn. That's in Montana, just north of the Bighorn Mountains in Wyoming. The Sioux were camped at a place they called Greasy Grass because the grass grew tall enough to feed the herd of 20,000 horses that was with them. It's estimated there were 15,000 people in this camp, families, elders, children. They had come together so the chiefs could sit in council and decide whether to continue fighting or to try negotiation with people who had shown that their word meant nothing. On June 25th, today, the camp was attacked by General George Armstrong Custer. You may have heard of this day. Perhaps you heard about the massacre of the gallant George Custer and his 7th Cavalry. The other story is this is the day we killed him. Custer was well known to the Sioux. They knew his favorite battle tactic was to kill women and children first. because he understood that would make the warriors reckless. And indeed, on this day, today, the first people killed were women and children. What followed was a short battle. 7,000 warriors swarmed out of the camp, and Custer was annihilated on the hill in a matter of 30 or 40 minutes. This was a great victory and the beginning of the end of the world. Within 6 years, Sitting Bull would be dead, Crazy Horse would be killed, and the Sioux would be on reservations, no longer free to hunt and live the way they had for thousands of years. Today, there are hundreds of Sioux at the Little Bighorn, at the Custer Battleground National Monument. They rode horses there, they rode Harleys there, they rode pickup trucks, cars, whatever they had. They came to occupy the monument to tell the other side of the story from the side that you read on the plaques. They were there to remember. What is true about all of this is that military victory is fleeting, and defeat serves to hone the sense of what is important. It turns out that language, songs, stories, ceremony, spiritual connection are the important things. And victory and defeat don't really matter. Thank you for remembering.
Thank you. Well, let's get started with our first reading tonight, which is with our newest Fishtrap faculty member. So, Chip Blake is an independent writer, editor, book coach, writing instructor, ghostwriter, and publishing and strategic planning consultant. From 1992 until 2003, he was the managing editor of Orion, a nonprofit magazine that focuses on nature and environment. In 2003, he became the editor-in-chief of Milkweed Editions, a nonprofit book publisher. And in 2005, he returned to Orion, where he served as editor-in-chief until 2020. He's also a lifelong bird watcher. He led a bird watch this morning, and has led birding trips throughout the U.S., Europe, and Central America, and apparently Wallowa Lake. His book, The Birds of Berkshire County, will be published later this year by Cornell University Press, and the it's night 4 of Summer Fishtrap, Ornithological Club. Please join me in welcoming Chip Blake to the stage.
Thank you, Shannon. It is delightful to be here. I've known about Fishtrap for a long time, and Kim Stafford and I, we've known each other over 30 years, and it's very meaningful to me to be here, and I thank the Fishtrap folks for inviting me, and I thank all of you for being here. As the introduction suggests, I have these two different parts of my life. I have this bird part, and I have my life as a person who works with literary writing. And it's amazing how these parts of my life are they don't come together very often. They're usually not together at all. With my bird watching friends, they're aware that I am doing things with writing, and that's very kind of confusing to them because they aren't people who really think about writing, the poetry, the feelings, the emotions, the less they know about that, the happier they are. And with writing, it's not so much that the birds don't come up with the writing, it just doesn't come up as much. It does here at Fishtrap, because it's Fishtrap, but mostly these things are separate. Some time ago, though, I was invited to write something for a bird anthology, and so I did. And the only setup you need for this is that I've birdwatched for a long time. I've birdwatched for decades. And I, until not so long ago, I never thought about my safety. I never thought about how my status as a person had an effect on my access to places or how I behaved in those places. Finally, in my density, I finally began to think about that. And that's what this little piece is about. It's called Privileged Birdwatching Stories 1 through 6. Privileged Birdwatching Story number 1. A friend and I were birding on an island in Denmark. We got lost and ended up in someone's backyard. An older woman, someone who looked like my grandmother, came out and said, "What are you doing in my yard?" My friend was as tall and white and of Northern European origin as I am. I said, "We're American birdwatchers and we're lost." She said, "Are you hungry?" And we said we were. She invited us inside and brought us plates of fried fish and homemade French fries. And then she said we could sleep on the little dock that jutted out from her yard into the North Sea. And she brought us reclining chairs. How do you think that would have gone for blackbirders, or for anybody who looked less white than we did? When Christian Cooper, a black man, went birding in Central Park and pointed out to a white woman he encountered that she was breaking the park's rules by having her dog off the leash, she called the police. Privileged bird watching story number 2. A friend and I were birding on Nevis, an island in the Caribbean. We had hiked to the highest point of the island, and while hiking back down, we lost the trail and ended up in a forest. We bushwhacked through the forest until we finally emerged in the backyard of someone's home, a big house with a sweeping view of the ocean. A well-dressed white man wearing white clothes came rushing over. He came rushing over and said, "What in the hell are you doing in my yard?" The friend I was with, a different friend from Privileged Birdwatching Story number 1, was as tall and white and of Northern European descent as I am, although not as tall as the birdwatching friend in Privileged Birdwatching Story number 1. I said, "We're American birdwatchers and we're lost." 15 minutes later, we were seated on the man's patio, next to the pool, drinking gin and tonics that had been made for us by the man's wife. It turned out he was from Philadelphia, as I am, and this was his vacation home. When we left, he wanted to make sure that we had everything we needed, including enough money. One time I was leading a bird walk in rural Vermont. This was at Breadloaf, by the way. Many of the attendees had never been on a bird walk. We walked along a remote road through dense stretches of sugar maple and spruce and hemlock. It was the kind of place I've gone birding for decades without giving a thought to my safety. As we walked, one of the attendees, a young woman, looked around and said, "I wouldn't come out here alone in a million years." Privileged bird watching story number 3. I was walking down a rural road in Massachusetts. At the time, I was a participant in a statewide breeding bird atlas, which is a thing where you go out and walk around and try to figure out which birds are breeding in the area you're in. As I walked, I came across a ramshackle barn with a large, ragged Confederate flag pinned inside one of the upper windows. I pulled out my phone and took a picture of it. A man came bursting out of the house adjacent to the barn. He was big and young and white and wearing denim overalls. He marched up to me briskly and said, "What the fuck are you doing?" I told him I was birdwatching. He said, "Then why the fuck are you taking pictures of my barn?" I hesitated for a second, and then I told him I had never seen a Confederate flag in these parts. He stepped closer to me, to where our chests were almost touching, and said, "Get the fuck out of here." I glared at him for a moment, decided this was not the time or place for an argument, and walked to my car. My friend Drew, a professional ornithologist, is built like a Division I outside linebacker. He is also black. And he told me once about how frightened he got while conducting field work on birds in rural sections of Georgia. So frightened, he said, that sometimes he would simply get back in his car and go home. Privileged birdwatching story number 4. I was scouting a birdwatching trip I was going to lead in Longmont, Colorado. I was trying to pin down a place to find a bird called the Lewis's woodpecker. Lewis's woodpecker is a big purple and green woodpecker, and the kind of bird birdwatchers like to see. I was walking up and down a street in front of a house because I had heard a Lewis's woodpecker calling from the trees in the back of the house and was trying to get a look at them. A man who was white came out of the house and said, "Why in the hell are you walking up and down the street in front of my house?" I explained what I was doing. He said, "Oh, do you want to come out back? You can see them much better out there." So we walked to the backyard, and there was a family of woodpeckers, and we watched them for a while. He told me that when I came back with the whole group, I could bring them into the yard so that we could see the birds, which is what happened. I came back with the group a week later, and the man was there and invited us into the backyard. Then his wife came out with a plate full of cookies she had just made, and we all stood there together and ate the cookies and watched the Lewis's woodpeckers. Ahmaud Arbery, a black teenager, went jogging alone in a suburban neighborhood and was murdered by white supremacists. Privileged birdwatching story number 5. A friend of mine and I were birdwatching in an agricultural area of Central Florida. This is the same friend who appeared in birdwatching story number 1, not that it matters, except that he was still white. A pickup truck came down the dirt road we were walking on and stopped beside us. Even though the land was unposted, the man in the truck, who was white, told us we were on private property and he wanted us to get the hell out of there. He asked us what we were doing, and we told him. He said, "Well, finish looking at your birds and get the hell out of here." He got back in his truck before he left. He leaned out the window and he said, "You boys are lucky. If you'd been different types, I might have shot first and asked questions later." 18-year-old Ezekiel Hernandez was shot to death while working on his parents' farm on the Texas-Mexico border, not far from places the birders from all over the world come to look at birds. U.S. Marines patrolling the border had mistaken Ezekiel for a drug runner. Privileged birdwatcher story number 6. I was standing beside my car on a rural Maryland road on a chilly January day. A big black pickup truck pulled up alongside me, and the driver, who was white, asked me what I was doing. I had binoculars around my neck, and at least 3 decals on my late model Prius had pictures of birds on them. Because I'd had too much coffee, or perhaps not enough, I stared blankly at the man and said, "What does it look like I'm doing?" He got out of his truck and we started jawing at each other. He explained loudly that he was the property manager of the land on both sides of the road. I rolled my eyes and pointed out loudly that I wasn't on the property he managed, only on the road, which was a public road. And I asked him if he wanted me to call the police and turn myself in for walking down a public road. I held my phone out as if I was ready to call. He backed down. He said, "Look, man, I'm just doing my job." Things cooled down as fast as they'd heated up. He told me he'd seen a bird the other day he'd never seen before, and that he'd taken a picture of it with his phone, and would I look at it and tell him what it was. And I did. A week later, I was leading a bird walk somewhere else. One of the participants, a good birder, a professed progressive, a person I like, remarked that our entire group was white and wondered aloud why more people of color don't get out and look at birds. Getting out into nature, he said, is the way we get people to care about nature. All we need, he said, is for more people to come out here. Everyone nodded. Thank you.
Thank you, Chip. That was a great debut, so thanks so much. So I wanted to do a little poll here. How many of you have either spent significant time living or currently live west of the Oregon and Washington Cascades? Raise your hands. Okay, those of you who didn't raise your hands, keep your hands up, folks. Look around at those people. If you don't live or have never lived west of the Cascades, these are the people who can help you out over the next couple of days with the stuff that's coming down from the sky. Good. We don't have beads for this, but I'm gonna encourage you to be brave. You're gonna see some stuff coming out of the sky. Now, folks that live around here, it's not white, but you're still gonna be okay, all right? I just wanted to give a little heads up. We do know the weather's gonna change, and we hope that all of you, both folks at Summer Fishtrap, folks that are coming up from the county, come up. We have this wonderful tent. If there's lightning and thunder, we will not be out here, but otherwise come up. Bring a jacket, bundle up a little bit. The temperature is gonna drop a little. It's Wallowa County, right? So it's gonna be spring here for a few days. You're gonna be okay, all right? Okay. Also, we have sweatshirts inside for sale, so you can help yourself out with that. I also wanted to again remind you, we have raffle tickets available for sale. They're $5 each, six for $25. There's also 2 silent auction items up there. All of that goes to help support this wonderful program, and all of those will be awarded on Saturday night. So if you come in your brand new Fish Trap sweatshirt, you might just win a prize. So with that, thank you. Well, I'm excited. Here we go. Beth Piatote is a longtime Fish Trap friend and has been, gosh, I don't even know what to say, has been here for quite many years. I asked her the other day, what do you want me to say for your bio? And she said, don't read the whole thing. And I said, I might make something up. But then I ran out of ideas. So Beth Piatote is a friend, a Nez Perce playwright, a scholar, a creative writer, and an indigenous language revitalization activist. She's the author of 3 books, including the mixed genre collection, The Beadworkers, which is lovely, stories, and in Distant Water Poems, which is brand new, which I'm super excited about, and the play Antigone. She's an associate professor of English and a comparative literature at the University of California, and she's an enrolled member of the Confederated Tribes of the Colville Reservation. She's here with her 2 children, which makes me super happy. Please welcome to the stage Beth Piatote.
Wow. Katsiyayo nunam watis ka nunam anakonma. Katsiyayo inam mimayats twaila ka Diego. Ka oikalo inam himyume. Katsiyayo Fishtrap and Mike and Shannon, Jennifer, Nadia, Janice, the board, the donors, the fish trappers, the funders, the founders, Kim and Rich. Thank you, Becky, from the Book Loft. Thank you, Book Loft. And thank you, all the writers who are here, all the people who love words, all the people who love writing. Thank you for, and thank you, the Lodge. Thank you, everyone who's here tonight. Katsiyao yo oi kaloma. So this place makes you a writer. And when I say this place, I mean this place, but I also mean this place, this podium, this place. I came and stood up many years ago as a participant. Someone gifted me a week at Fish Trap, and it was the first time I came. Maybe it was in the 90s, the late 90s. And so standing up here with our words, I just want to doff my hat to all the writers who have stood up at between 4 and 5 for open mic, and encourage everyone to continue doing that. Okay, I'm going to read a few poems from my new book called Distant Water. It's a beautiful book from Milkweed, and if you are curious about the cover, the photograph that is in the background is Celilo Falls. This book is about using our indigenous languages and our indigenous aesthetics in our writing. And so the poems either use a single word in the language and try to write a poem that expresses ideas about that word, or some of the poems are written entirely in Nimiputimtki or Nez Perce language, which is my ancestral language that I have learned as an adult. So the first poem I want to read in our homelands here is called Nunim Anokonma, our ancestors. Nunim Anokonma Hisukwasina et Te Yakus. Our ancestors knew long ago the distant water, ocean. Et Te Yakus Natsoch Hipa Alaikika. To the ocean the salmon downrivered. Ku'us Natsoch Kikaps Hipawetseya. The salmon became strong. Kimet Hiwa He Lao Kimet He Lao Sikli Toksa Eteyakosin. Then fishly migrate back, the ocean with them. Kunko, always, for all time. Wakis Hinasnich, life, spirit, they give us. Nunim Wakiswit, our life, spirit, way of life. We yapim, across generations. Nunca hipetanich etayakus, we too eat the ocean. Ku'us kikaps, witsatsich, thus strong we become. Wakipanich, long ago, nunim anokonma hesukwasina, our ancestors knew, etayakus, the ocean. Hitauyatsena mimaksempe, lived among the mountains. Anokt kinikai hiutsatsena, before the ocean went away. Loch, loch, loch. Kilech hisukwasena, sturgeon nose. Kekus hiwakis kauisa, apocalypse, how one lives through the end of the world. Natsoch hesukwetsa, salmon nose. Kekuus paulau limkas, the manner of repair. Tsalawi etayakus hiutsatsa, if the ocean travels out. Hipa alaikika, they go down to the ocean. Kahilau tsikli tokta, and circle back. Kunko, always. Kunko, forever. Etayakus, hi lau tsikli tokta, suyemki. The ocean returns in the body of fish. Hatokets, difficult, precious. Hatokets, arduous. Hatokets, priceless. Hilau sikli totsik, the returning as fish. Lu, 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 lu. Gonko, always. So some of the poems are just thinking about a single word, and particularly thinking about learners like me who may benefit from having ways to remember words and think about them. So this is a word, this is a poem that's just about one word, Lekip, and it's a love poem. So Lekip in our language means suddenly, and with the verb ku, to do, it means to inadvertently touch or disturb a game animal. Lekip, breeze skips bare grass. Lekip, hummingbird shimmies leaf. Lekip, sigh awakens skin. Lekip, rings pattern lake. Lekip, butterfly trembles petal. Kusa lekip, you touch my hand, and a deer bounds out from the bush. This is another poem that is about one word, and the single word is hautnen. And I saw this word yesterday when we went for a hike up the Joseph Trail. So if you go up to the trailhead, you'll see there's some signage there, and in the signs there are some phrases in Nez Perce language. And so you'll see on the panel that's called Honoring a Sacred Land, it says, Kiwatis nunam tidluma pauhautsina, which means this land, our ancestors. And then it has this word haut in it, this verb, they revered it. But haut means sacred or perfect or holy. And also the verb suffix is long ago, remote time. So it's from like the beginning of time. Okay. So this comes from a Smithsonian Magazine article of the same title, which is 9 places where you can still see wheel tracks from the Oregon Trail. On my right metatarsus, you can see the swale caused by wet wagon wheels coming out of the Big Blue River, heaving their sodden burdens over the top of my arched foot, cracking the delicate bones below. On my skin, you see their names, carved with sharp knives, marking the springs that offered fresh water. They took long drinks and left white scars. The climb up my right calf was so steep that heavy wagons made deep ruts still visible today. This grade was the first major acclivity and likely to give the faint-hearted doubt. A bare road runs the length of my thigh. Sharp double lines build as pristine trail ruts, as though my body did not exist for itself. Hautnen, perfect, sacred, holy. My lower belly, made of sandstone, yielded to the roll of the wheel. So soft was the sandstone that it wore away under each creaking load. This patient erosion hewed tracks 5 feet deep, tracks deep enough to swallow a child. To avoid the winter, they raced to reach my left hip bone by the 4th of July. To celebrate, they etched white names in the jutting dark granite of my hip, calling it Independence Rock. The climb up my glutes was so long and steep that the descent was even more dangerous, as testified by ruts like claw marks on both sides, a reminder of what it means to rut, to mount a body muscled and soft. In the wide open plain of my back, single tracks spread to doubles and triples, so vast and inviting was my back as it shredded under the gyre of passing lanes. Across the sharp edge of my cheekbone, on the cliff face, is planted the historical sign that indicates the final set of tracks and provides an impressive view of the Columbia River as it rolls to the sea. Thank you. I think maybe you could tell I was borrowing the language from the article to rewrite that piece. This is another revision I'm going to read. I'm a big fan of Walt Whitman. Yes, we love Walt. But I always had this cognitive dissonance because in 1855, the year that Leaves of Grass came out, full of exuberance and boundlessness, and Whitman's gorgeous writing, was the same year that our treaties were signed up here, creating containment and loss for us, and trying to put these two events have to be thought about together because they were, the one, Whitman, is only possible because of the treaties of 1855 and because of the other losses for us. So what I did with Whitman, who I love, is I borrowed his stanzas from the opening of Song of Myself, and I replaced his text with the words from our treaty across several stanzas. And then at the end, both Whitman and the treaty go away. And I want to say I wrote this poem here in the valley. 1855. I celebrate myself and what I assume you shall assume. For every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. I loaf and invite my soul. I lean and loaf at my ease, observing a spear of summer grass. Walt Whitman, Song of Myself. I celebrate myself, and what I hereby cede, you shall hereby cede. For the country relinquished by me as good is relinquished by you. I loaf and convey to the United States all the right, title, and interests in my country, occupied and claimed. I give and grieve, meeting on spears of summer grass. I celebrate myself and what I hold in reserve for my exclusive right and occupation shall be available from time to time to the President at his discretion to be surveyed into lots. I acknowledge my dependence and promise to be friendly. I pledge and agree not to shelter or conceal offenders, but to deliver them up to the authorities for trial. I celebrate my miochat, who bore losses that we would not bear, for nunam wakeswet is nunam titokanawit kunko. I hold and cherish Article 3. I protect and love our usual and accustomed places, our exclusive right to take fish, to hunt, to gather roots and berries, and pasture our horses on open land. I celebrate nunam watis, our land. Ka nunam watis, he was kunko nunam watis, and our land is forever our land. I love and enlarge my soul. Ahatawisa inam titokan ka nunam watis, tinipnetza wiletpe. I love my people and our land. I remember the place of waving grass. We are one with our land, and our land is our ancestors' land, always. All the land they are lighting, the land is shining bright, forever. Nun wasi kustite nunam watis. Ka nunam watis, he was nunam anakonmanam watis, kunku. Ila kawasich la amna watisna, watis ila kawan he was, kunku. I forgot to look at my watch. Do I have time for one or two? One, two. Kim says two, so thank you. Okay. This poem is another poem that is just about one word, but it's a word that has some diverse meanings. Soch. Soch means spoon. It's also a sound effect. It's the sound of blood gushing out. And this poem also has the word soch poilu, which means wooden spoon. And I don't know if you can see this, but it's written in columns, so it's a contrapuntal poem. So you can read it across, and you can also read it down in columns. And I'm just going to indulge and do both. Thank you. Soch. What is your soch, your spoon? Shard of mountain sheep horn or dry knuckle of tree? A curve of silver your grandmother stowed in apron pocket? A cradle used to stay calm, to stay? Your soch comes from earth, animal, plants, mineral. Ask yourself 20 questions. How many times did soch save you? Coyote always carried a spoon to join anyone's feast. Such things believe in generosity. Always carry a spoon, not a knife, to feast. The sound of soch is onomatopoetic, is the sound of blood gushing out after wounding. Soch, soch, soch. Knife beats spoon sometimes. The wife of cannibal had a soch poilu. Cannibal wanted to feast on wooden spoon. She took the spoon and the baby. She said, spoon, become a canoe. It will save us. A canoe carried them away. So here are the columns. What is your soch? Sheep horn or silver your grandmother used? Your soch plants 20 questions. Did you join anyone's feast in generosity? To feast is the sound of wounding sometimes. A soch poilu, wooden spoon, she said. It will save us. It's the second one. Your spoon, dry knuckle of tree, stowed in apron pocket to stay calm, comes from earth, mineral. How soch coyote always carried, such things always carry the sound of onomatopoetic blood gushing out. Soch, soch, soch. The wife of cannibal, she took the spoon and, spoon, become a canoe. It's the third. Shard of mountain, a curve of a cradle to stay animal. Ask yourself many times, save a spoon to believe a spoon, not a knife. Soch is after knife beats spoon. Cannibal wanted to feast on the baby. A canoe carried them away. Okay, last one. Psychiptatas, medicine. In Siwatr, I alone, pico like in Ipskilichne, by the river I walked. Tiwelkene Muatispe Ipskilichne, in Shoshone-Bannock land I walked. Telapna, I felt lonesome, longing. Hisao nishkika, it was quiet all around. Oh, saois, just silent. Kimet, all of a sudden, hilasena ipelicht, thunder sounded. Hiwakia, rain came. Hit kich kauna, it came straight down from the sky. Hiwalapschna, water flowed over the whole land. Kimet, Heneka, Hisauna. Again, it was still. Kots kots, Hiwanipa, meadowlark sang. Kem enech, enuch tsuka. Sagebrush scent I recognized. Hatokets, Sakiptatas, precious medicine. Sakiptatas, hiyalatchia, medicine rose up and across. Sakiptatas, hiyalankaka, medicine hovered in the air. Sakiptatas, hilapschna, medicine filled the land. Katsiya.
Thank you, Beth. So for the last couple nights, we've been talking about fish trappers, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit different. Instead of thinking about why you should become a fish trapper, I wanted to thank the folks that have. And here's what they've done for us over the last 6 years since the program started. It started in 2020 with 6 sustaining donors. It's now grown to over 240. Fish trappers now pay for our home in the Bowlby Building and Enterprise. They cover our lease, you cover our insurance, you cover our utilities. You support all of our programming, including the Fish Trap Fireside programming. You don't pay for it all. I'm not going to say that, but your program does help support all the local programming that you don't know we all do, you don't know we do, including Fish Trap Fireside, Winter Fish Trap Reads, our community reading program, our new theater programming, the community programs and lectures and things we do throughout the year, and our youth programs. Yeah, the perks are great. You get discounts to certain programs, and you get to be a part of the club, and you get all these little gifties. But I just want to say, above everything else, knowing that you're there and supporting us and you're part of this is why you're important. So to all of our fish trappers, I want to say thank you before we give you prizes. Thank you so much. There she is. Now you get a present. I'm scared.
It's gonna be your mom, right?
Oh, God. Now, you heard her say that, not me, so.
Let's see. Oh,
No.
it's parent curtains.
Yay! Just as a quick reminder, if you are a fish trapper and you haven't filled out one of those little green raffle tickets, do so. And if you do decide to join us for the first time today, you get an extra raffle ticket for the 2027 Summer Fishtrap Gathering of Writers. So it's worth thinking about. Thank you so much. Take a deep breath. Guess who's coming? It's like, welcome, it's just a wonderful thing. So, Kim Stafford is an emeritus professor at Lewis and Clark College at Oregon. Well, he writes, teaches, and travels to raise human spirit through poetry. In 1986, he founded the Northwest Writing Institute, and he has published a dozen books of poetry and prose, including The Muses Among Us, Eloquent Listening and Other Pleasures of the Writer's Craft, and 100 Tricks Every Boy Can Do, How My Brother Disappeared. His most recent book is the poetry collection As the Sky Begins to Change from Red Hen Press, and he's taught writing in dozens of schools and community centers and in Scotland, Italy, Mexico, and Bhutan. In 2018, he was named Oregon's 9th Poet Laureate for a 2-year term, and he has won. The Fish Trap would not be here without him. So please welcome Kim Stafford to the stage.
What magic. With our first speaker, we went to the greasy grass. And we were part of a victory that didn't last long. And then we heard a speaker warning us of our privilege and helping us think beyond that into a better world. With the third speaker, the river was listening, the trees were listening, and they heard the language of this place. And they said to each other, "Did you hear that? It's been a long time." Besides honoring these three, I want to honor my first editor, who's driven down from Lewiston, Jim Hepworth, back about 1984. I came through Lewiston on my way to Billings for a conference, and I stopped, and Jim and I sat out on a deck under the sky sipping wild turkey, and he said to me, "Stafford, you're going to write essays." And I said, "No, Jim, I did enough of that in school." And he said, "Nope, you're going to write essays, and if they're any good, I'll think about publishing them." And that was the beginning for me. So I want to thank Jim Hepworth. And Jim reminded me of an old poem. It's called Driven to Exclaim. How can I be so happy? There's so much bad news. Inside, my heart is crying. Outside, the crows are shouting. Do they love bad news? Ruffians. Hard times are coming. Hard times are here. Everywhere I look, pain. Why are leaders such angry children? I'm such a child, I want to stay up late loving the ruined world. Even the crows are shouting strange joy. All I can do is crow. I want to read 4 poems for people. 4 poems for people. One for a woman in Spain, one for a friend from El Salvador, one for the crows, and one for Becky at the book loft. So for the woman in Spain, it's called My Greatest Compliment Ever. It was the 60s. In the Barcelona train station, I was a scruffy vagabond talking with an old lady, babbling my instinctive high school Spanish as I lifted her bag into a cart. And she asked me to find her son, a tall man, she said, with a felt hat, who would be smoking a cigarette, distracted, checking his watch. And we laughed together over the frenzy of travelers swirling all around us. And then she said, "Señor, ¿es usted extranjero? Are you a foreigner?" She knew the obvious. American kid AWOL from home with rucksack and sturdy boots. But she chose to smile in the sweetest of moments with the kindness I have cherished these 50 years, as if she had taken me for her countryman, un paisano, un joven de su país. I feel that way in Wallowa County, to be welcomed in a place as if I were not a foreigner is a tremendous privilege. Okay. For my friend Claudia Castroluna, who was Poet Laureate of Washington when I was Poet Laureate of Oregon, and she told me about going home to see her father in Salvador, who was ill. And she was coming back from his town through the forest, and she came to a curve in the road where there was a woman with a child in her lap selling little jars of honey. So she bought one, and when she got to the U.S., the customs agent took the honey from her. And so this is for the customs agent who seized Claudia's jar of honey from El Salvador. So it's addressed to the customs agent. Para probar, taste it. Let it sizzle on your tongue. Take it home smuggled in your dark pocket and with a spoon drip to the tongues of your children slow sips of joy, so they may know how sweet my country once was in spite of war and sorrow. Tell them about the ravine with flowers the soldiers missed, but the bees swarmed, humming and humming, zumbando y zumbando. Remind them how a mother could sit by the road with her daughter in her arms and a few jars of pure, true gold. How my coins in her brown hand meant enough this day, even though her man was gone, even though your law would take this elixir from me, even though there will always be war, but always flowers, bees, mothers, and your children. And if you have no children, if you do not wish to think of war or my country or the woman by the road, still, I beg you, taste this honey. Let the sticky song of 1,000 bees give your body the oldest, deepest pleasure. Do not lose your chance to know how sweet my country once was, in spite of war and sorrow, a pesar de la guerra y el dolor. Okay, we have these crows. If anyone's anywhere near Portland, do not park downtown at night. Your car will be painted. But in the morning, they fan out, radiating out from downtown, and they come over our house about 5 in the morning, and they're all excited. It's going to be a great day. And there are these two, this great big swaggering male and his lady. And he swaggers around, and she kind of watches him. And so they helped me write this poem called How the Crow Knows Her Love. He has a certain swagger in the way he dips his beak, a syncopated strutting when he gives a tender shriek. I meet him in the shadows to tickle at his chin, to preen his glossy feathers till he shivers deep within. For I know behind his swagger, he's a blooming fool for love. I can make him coo with pleasure as if he were a dove. I can make his vision blur, his eyes roll back and blink and Remind him of this later when I give a fetching wink. He makes me swoon with wonder when he flaps across the sun to bring me fragrant morsels, and I know that he's the one to raise our crowlets, teach them verve and zest so they can swagger like him by the time they leave the nest. Oh, I can pick him from the flock, be they thousands in the trees. He makes my heart beat faster and go weak in wings and knees. When he glances past his shoulder to give that sassy look, I know I've got his number. I can read him like a rook. But how these humans find each other is an ancient mystery. For swarming in their flocks, they're all lookalikes to me. No inky feet and feathers with rainbow hue to spy, the one who has that swagger that can always catch my eye. How they find their partners is a thing nobody knows. It's a pleasure that's so easy when you live among the crows. So Chip, we birders, our mission is to have people look twice and not judge. Okay, this one's for Becky at the Book Loft and all bookstores. I was giving a reading at a little bookstore in Portland, and as I stepped into the store, something happened to my body. I just felt safe, cherished, happy. And so I found myself writing this poem because I'd heard about forest bathing. You know, the idea that you go into the forest. This is big in Japan, and it's starting to come this way. And you are just healed. The air, the fragrances, the majestic trees, the little lives all around you. So this is called book bathing. Book bathing. Some say step into the forest to let green air scrub your mind of sorrow. Birdsong rinse regret from your heart. Where trees reach upright dignity and moss offers soft touch to your hurt hands, you will come forth clean and kind, growing again into joy. Then step through the door of a little bookstore to feel the rub of stories whisper your hair, words waiting in their waterfall, to clear your fear, to let you feel the soft friction of thought nourish your dreams, while all around you, book people gift you with friendly eyes. Have you had that feeling? You go into the bookstore, you go into the book loft. This is my place, this is my people. Well, I want to read 3 poems. Every morning I go up the canyon, sit looking out, and write. So these are the first 3 days of Fishtrap. The first one, I was thinking about my class, my beloved class. I want to thank my class. They were so curious in each other's presence and so welcoming. So this is called Learning Place. Our class is in the shadow of a pine. We trace the shadow's rim that swivels. Our class is in the rattle of the river. We hum to find the tune it carried from above. Hungry for what hasn't happened yet, our class is in the yarrow's flavor. Our class is in friction on a stone. Learning how to navigate our story, our school is in the swaying trees, in sunrise splashed across the mountain, in singing heard from hidden birds, the path that leads beyond where we can see. Give us lessons, broken pine, where we study on our knees. Teach patience, little ant, your 1,000 6-foot steps across the dust. And then fluff. Maybe some of you had the same experience during the open mic. There was this benediction coming down from the cottonwood trees, and just the way it moved. There's so many lessons the earth is begging us to experience, to see, to honor, to incorporate into our behavior. And I felt the cottonwood fluff was doing this. So fluff, where we sit outside in rows of chairs to feast on words from our speaker. All around us fall seeds of cottonwood, riding slow as snow in tufts of fluff, hesitant in their drift, lift, and pirouette, falling softer than any human act, more deliberate, teaching me another way to think, to be reluctant about force, intention, certainty, letting wind decide where another tree might begin in some cleft or crevice licked by rain. By this teaching, I begin to see how my little songs, in their wisps of breath, might travel from me without hurry or plan, drifting from my mouth to find a cleft in you, like this. So many lessons. Up the canyon, I saw this kingfisher like an arrow. Wasn't even moving his wings. It was just shooting through the trees. There's a lesson. Know what you want and go find it. Well, this morning it was Patriot Letter to My Homeland. Patriot Letter to My Homeland. From my earliest days, you fed me beauties without number, gazing out my window from the crib to see that shameless cherry tree brightening the sky. And after every day, leaves and light, bird song, filigree that fills my mind with wonder. You gave me rain, dawn, trees for shelter, water from the mountain spring, pollen on my finger. I owe you everything. To be loyal, I must learn your ways, your constitution in stone, soil, water, wind, and all the little lives. We, the people you sustain, will live or die by consequence. Teach us how to best be local here. Well, this got me going on the idea of being a patriot. Being a patriot. So I looked on my computer to see if I'd written any poems about being a patriot, and I found a whole bunch of them. So I'm just going to read a few of these. A bird has a territory, this is called Patriot of Place, which I realize I've written 2 poems called Patriot of Place, but this is one of them. A bird has a territory it guards with a song. A butterfly sets out to flit 1,000 miles home to a grove of pines in Michoacan. First people return to their usual and accustomed places, and you have your own home ground, a place of memory, sensation, and devotion. These are times when such loyalties must be deepened for salvation of these places and for the human project. Consider the duties and the pleasures of the land citizen. Patriot of Mountains and Rivers, July 4th, 2020. Flag unfurls the wind over everyone. High stars glitter, constellations that guide. Stripes imbue all beautiful colors of skin, side by side among us. We stand our ground for first people sovereign. We stand our ground for immigrants who believe freedom means no one hungry or afraid. Constitution founds the health of every child, amended as needed to sustain the 7th generation. The true Bill of Rights begins with water, free and clean as rain. Without that, nothing. Heroes hide among us, bent to their work. Statues fall and statutes change. We vote for humble servants to elect this justice arc. We hold self-evident mountains, rivers, wild places and their creatures, the ways of earth and seasons, the true consequence of disregard. So give me liberty from selfish freedoms, small and mean. Oh, say, can you see the founding children's peaceful march? Did I just hear the rain begin? What a blessing. What a blessing. You know, years ago I was at the dedication of the Longhouse at Portland State University, and the elders were there in their finery, their feathers and their beautiful clothing. And it started to rain. And I thought, oh, that's so bad. Then one of the elders stood up. We thank the Creator for the blessing of this rain that has brought us joy together. White flag patriots. White flag patriots. The children went first because they had the most to lose. No color, no emblem on their flags, no shouting, surrendering instead as they shuffled toward the White House, some crying, some stern, a few singing lullabies their mothers had taught. And in the rose garden, where men were speaking into microphones, the children lay down in the grass to watch the clouds drift west until the speeches trailed off and only the wind was heard. Then white flags flashed in the wind as the children rose and sang together, "You have overcome, but we are not afraid." Let's just say this is all one poem and you can save your applause. Just a few more here. Oregon Patriot. I mean, there were just so many patriot poems, I must be obsessed. Oregon Patriot. An Oregon Patriot is someone who keeps coming back to what this place is. Could be, should be, must be. Like the child by night running toward the sacred land. I have to pause for a moment where, little things that end up in poems have a long backstory. I was talking to a woman named Sophie George, whose grandmother lived at Celilo before the dam. And she was a young child. And all the people had to leave and go up to Toppenish. And this little girl kept running away, running back to the river. And then they'd go and find her. They knew where she would be. She would be at the bank where the old village had been. They'd bring her back, and she'd run away. Well, this was a story that Sophie didn't know until she came home from college. And she noticed at the screen door, there was this iron ball with a little ring on it that it was a doorstop. And in the summer, they'd push it aside and then, they'd use it to hold the screen door open. And she asked her mom, what's that ball? That's what they tied to your grandmother's ankle to keep her from going back to the river. We must be like the child by night running toward the sacred land, the moving water, home. Every salmon is trying to go back to that place. Every salmon is a patriot of a place, willing to die to get there. When I crouch down at the pool below the dam at Eagle Creek up the gorge, where the wall of concrete stops the salmon from going home, what do I learn about my chance, our imperative as Oregon? The salmon swivel in the pool there, just deep enough to go blue, where they hunker low, then bolt in frenzy, the females rolling on their sides to fan the gravel open for a red to hold the future. The last difficult, perfect act of the patriot fish. Patriot of Place, July 4th, 2021. When we were young and eager to understand, they told us of the man who said, "Did I get it right? Give me liberty or give death to thousands." And so set off flintlock fireworks by Minutemen singing Yankee Doodle as they crouched behind split rail fences to pick off redcoats marching past. And after all, I was the boy with the fife striding through smoke, ramrod straight, my eyes bright. Today, I want a different kind of guerrilla tactic to fight the little war inside myself, the struggle to liberate my freedom from a narrow need to prevail. I must compose a treaty for ceasefire, to wean my yearning from fire words to parley. The lantern of Paul Revere, the needle of Betsy Ross, the wooden teeth of Washington, the writing quill of Jefferson, give me liberty from war. Patriots of Grace. Oh no, there's one. Well, let's end with Patriots of Grace. And just to thank. Could we give everyone involved in Fishtrap in any way a big hand? And to remember when Beth came here as a young student and someone made that possible. And you could make that possible for a young person who later would circle back and give what Beth has given to us. Think about it. Patriots of Grace. Music is the joyful rage, a wild creature loosed on stage, to shake the floor and fire the air, to make all listeners ache and stare, to fill the soul and break the heart, to take our reticence apart. When we leave this music hall, when we stand up wise and tall, we may start a life of grace and tell our stories face to face, unabashed and unafraid, to trust the courage music made. So lusty singers, here's our task, to pull away each listener's mask, forsake the solo lonesome night, and live by friendship's inner light. Thank you.
Oh, Kim, thank you. Does everybody that live here feel like he just belongs to us? Does everybody in here? Yeah, it's just one of those things. Thank you so much. I want to talk a little bit about a change in schedule and a little bit about tomorrow's schedule. So for those of you, the Fish Trap community tomorrow, you get to hang out. I don't know, Craig, are you going to greet the day on the lake? What are you thinking?
Yes.
Bring your umbrella.
Bring an umbrella,
All right.
a raincoat, and if it's just pouring down furiously, I'll be here.
We'll greet the day in the tent. There you go. You just greet the day with Craig Childs at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. After that, at a 1:30, there's a panel discussion. I get to have a little conversation with Tim Z. Hernandez, Beth Piatote, Anna Maria Spagna, and Kim Stafford on our theme, on our American story. That happens at 1:30 here. The open mic readings at 4 o'clock. Tomorrow night's faculty readings, Karen Ovanen, Perrin Kearns, and Craig Childs. There'll be an author signing tonight in the lobby, so go get Beth's book and Kim's book, and they will sign them for you, and they will give you hugs. I also wanted you, I shouldn't promise that. Are you going to give hugs? Oh, yeah. Okay, all right. It's a huggy place today. And then finally, I did want to let folks know we're going to make a change on Sunday morning. Instead of the EOU readings, how would y'all like, for those of you who are sticking around, you get one more shot at an open mic. So we're going to run one more open mic session on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock right here in the tent. It'll be the last sign off for Summer Fishtrap 2026. So if you're still in town, the sign up for that last open mic will be open at 8 o'clock that morning. So that's what I've got. Have a good night. Be careful out there driving, and we will see you tomorrow. Good night.